This podcast will fail. Mostly because nobody's going to listen to it. But you might prove me wrong. Who knows? Here we are on episode 29. Very nearly a complete month of a daily podcast here. A podcast which, of course, will fail. I'm just some guy. Who I am and where I am is rather irrelevant to the conversations that I come here to have with you, and primarily myself. So, as you can see, I'm kind of still working through, right, a lot of the machinations of how I want to set up this podcast, and things evolve and grow over time, and I think any content creator rightfully looks at what they're doing and allows little improvements and little adjustments. So I hope that's what I'm doing. But things inevitably have to grow and they have to change. And I can tell you what's growing right now is my fear of winter. It sucks. It's cold. This is really the beginning, I guess, midway of fall. We're coming up on Halloween next week, and I get like this every year where I can't stand the little nip of cold and my hands won't warm up and I can't breathe. My freaking lungs and asthma won't stop despite all the allergy medication in the world. My head rings like a clarion with sinus pain despite all the ibuprofen. So as much as I giggle, I'm kind of miserable right now. And then the prospect of what this podcast is going to look and feel like in the dead of winter, I might have to think about where I'm recording this, because sitting in the front seat of a vehicle in driving snow when it's sub-0 degrees or whatever it happens to be where I am, wherever I happen to be, does not particularly interest me. That might give you a little bit of a clue as to where I'm not. Certainly not in a warm clime. This ain't Florida, this ain't Southern California, nor is it the bowels of Texas where I'm at. It gets cold here and it gets snowy here. So I guess I've just cut the country in half if you're wondering who the heck I am and where the heck I am. But you might not care. That might not be why you're showing up every day to listen to this. You, meaning the 2 to 3 people who seem to be grabbing this thing every day. And I am grateful to you, whoever you are out there, for a little bit of your time and attention. Even if you don't listen to the whole thing, that's cool. That's understandable. 2 things I wanted to touch on briefly. One was just in podcasting to round out this piece of this topic. A friend of mine from work, the podcast guy I have at work, who still does not know about this particular project, he popped up today and he's like, I got something you might be interested in, and he pointed me towards a podcast called Beautiful Anonymous. And you might know this podcast. I don't. I never heard of it, and I don't know the comedian. Chris Gephardt is his name, or Gethard or something like that. Gethard. I don't know who he is. I've never heard of him, but okay. So I listened to the thing, and it's a really cool premise where it's like 1 hour, anonymous phone call, person calls in, and they just talk, and there's no names, and there's no pretense. There's no set topic. It's whatever this person calls in about is what it is. And I find that really interesting, and I find that really compelling. I have to then work particularly hard at not trying to pretend that I'm going to somehow copy that, because that's, if you look back at season 1, that's been part of my problem, is I seem to think that when I see or hear something, I say, oh, I can do that. Part of the new mission going forward in life is to stop doing that. No, you cannot copy that. No, you cannot do a version of it, because it will fail and you will be miserable again. So just do what you do and stop worrying about everybody else. So, but I actually mentioned that because I just said a minute ago any one of you that happens to listen to this and begins the thing, I take no offense if you don't finish it. I think it'd be cool as hell if somebody did devote 20 minutes of their day to me every day, but I couldn't even get through the whole 1 hour podcast, the one I listened to of this beautiful anonymous. And it was great. It really was a great premise, and I was thoroughly enthralled by the conversation that he was just having with this random person who called in. But I couldn't give an hour. I just couldn't. I think I got about 33 minutes in and was like, no, I got to get to work. I don't have time for this. And I'm pretty sure I know where the rest of it's going to go. So I don't think that I can put any more of my time. So I guess that's just part of it, right? Does anybody actually listen to the whole thing? I know from my YouTube time that nobody actually watches the whole video. The average view duration for most videos, for most creators, is about 33%. Okay, that's cool. So I gave that guy 50% today. I'm hoping you out there at least give me 33%. I can't really ask for more, but there's that. That was kind of interesting to listen to that and to see that there's a piece vaguely related to what I do. There's another topic I wanted to just kind of talk about, the thing that caught my attention and struck me today. As I said, that I'm hoping every day that there's something that makes me think, right? Something that stops me in my tracks and makes me consider. Now, yesterday I said that I did not want that to be the daily news cycle. Well, the inspiration for this topic unfortunately does come from the news cycle. I know I'm full of crap and I am a hypocrite, and that's fine. It is what it is. Just go with it. It got me thinking about something else, which I guess is the goal, right? The actual news story itself is what it is. It's a wonderful, ridiculous, absurd blip on the radar of television, cable news, and politics of the day. Henceforth to be known as Tubin-ing. That whole debacle with a political pundit being caught pleasuring himself on a Skype call. Good Lord. As we continue on into the world of the absurd. But that, not so much that itself, okay, fine. We're all human. Everybody does what they do. And please show me the rare human that has never diddled a fiddle. I'm a grown adult. I understand these things happen. But the context that it gave me was more to where we are in the world today, in this pandemic world that we live in, because as I've watched the world try to cope with this increasingly digital life that we have to live now in order to even get anything done and interact with each other, Zoom is the word, right? You don't like Zoom, you got Skype. You don't like Skype, you got Microsoft Teams. You don't like Microsoft Teams, you've got 5 or 6 other choices to do these web conferencing, webcam conversations for everything from school to business to family to everybody else. What I noted, though, when I was thinking about the absurdity of this story, that someone would be doing it during a work meeting, is all of the other things that are happening while people are on these video conference calls. And it's an adjustment phase, sure. I think most people in the world obviously never expected us to be where we are, but certainly I don't think most people in the world expected us to have transformed all of society's communication practically into this digital format, into these webcam rooms. I can't see where anybody saw that coming. It's interesting to me because, again, I've talked about this enough, but 15 years ago, we were doing webcams for internet radio, and guests were appearing live on a little panel of webcams off to the side of the chat room while I, the host, was on camera. That's old. That's old school. But it never caught the mainstream attention that it gets now, because this is the world we have to live in just to do anything, right? To conduct governmental affairs, to have our kids go to school, to have meetings at work. It all has to be done through this medium. But the point is, nobody's used to it. And it doesn't seem like folks are getting used to it fast enough to avoid these unfortunate things that are happening. There's really two sides to this. One, people are, I think, generally careless. And I think that demonstrates itself very well in what we've seen here. But all these other examples too we'll go back through some of the ones, right? Because I've been picking out these I'm seeing them happen. They're coming across my news feed. They're coming across my social media feeds. All of these blunders that are taking place on quote unquote Zoom calls. So we'll just call it Zoom calls for the sake of ease, because these might have been on WebEx, these might have been on Teams, these might have been on Skype, whatever. But we'll just call them Zoom calls for the sake of ease. Forget about a political analyst pleasuring himself when he thinks he's not on camera. We've had several instances of parents and grandparents in the backgrounds of elementary school classrooms in various states of disrobe. Look, everybody's different, and I know that there are families out there where nudity is not a big deal in the house. It's not crazy uncommon for some people. It's not how my house is. Everybody in my house is pretty discreet, and it is what it is. We don't, mom doesn't walk around without a bra on, and dad doesn't walk around in his underwear or less. It's just not necessary for anybody in my house to be witness to anyone else in a state of undress. But there was like a second grader about a week ago where the mom just went right by the camera, just naked as the day she'd born, and the teacher had to yell, and they had to quickly recover from that. That's a good example. Issues of parents conducting themselves in even less savory ways, everything from drug use to poor language to just every kind of thing that I guess what goes on behind people's closed doors is what goes on behind their closed doors. But my God, it's not what you want to have shown to the world. I mean, it shouldn't. Some of this stuff shouldn't happen anyways, right? Now, there shouldn't be a parent with a bong on camera behind their kid who's doing school. There shouldn't be a parent that is, rifling off F-bombs and horrific language in front of their preschooler or school-age child. There shouldn't be these things, but apparently they are. And I guess in our modern world here, folks are not aware of the fact that you're probably on camera. Somebody is probably going to see you do these things. People are animals, right? We're animals. That's what we are. We're mammals, okay? Right? We are bipedal, sure, but we are mammals. Warm-blooded, bear live children. We are what we are. We're animals. But sometimes I'm seriously taken aback by people's inability to rise above their basic animal instincts. And it really makes me scratch my head about where society is or where is it going. How deep are the cracks in our society that we've evolved to this level where just anything is fine because it's in my own home and nobody will see me. I'm clearly embarrassed about these things. I would never walk around, in public. Well, I guess you can't really say that either, right? There's plenty of people walking around in public saying stupid things and displaying poor behavior. They're there. We can see them. But generally, most people, I think, try to hold on to at least a modicum of modesty. Well, guess what? Everybody's on web conference calls now. Everybody's on Zoom calls. There is no anonymity. There is no hiding. And again, I think it's just abject laziness that people don't see it. There's probably a camera on you. there's very likely a chance that you are going to be seen doing these things that you think are private and that in your heart are probably wrong, but you figure it's my life and no one knows, and I have my secrets. You don't have your secrets anymore, right? Especially in work settings. I mean, I've seen examples of some of these calls where someone is on a work meeting and they are, they're beset by a spouse or a significant other that is, trying to conduct themselves in an inappropriate way in the background of the Zoom call. Those maybe are a little more funny, but that could cost somebody their job. Certainly this individual in cable news who Tubin-ed himself, it's funny, on camera. He's been suspended by the newspaper he works for, and I'm pretty sure that the cable news is not going to have him back on again. But even beyond that, right? We see people sleeping on these calls. We see people just doing the most ridiculous things. And okay, I mean, I guess there's another side. I've had a couple of examples I've seen where it was beneficial, right? Somebody their house was broken into while they were on this Zoom call, and it ultimately, I think, saved their life as they were attacked from a home invasion, but it was on camera, so someone was able to call for help. There was one last week as well where a teacher happened to notice that a grandparent was having a slurred speech and didn't seem to be acting quite right in the background behind the small child, and that teacher said, I think they're having a stroke, and they got 911 and got that person some help. So for good or ill, we're here. We're all looking at each other now, right? There's very, very few places left that your life is not somehow at risk of being broadcast to literally everyone in some form or fashion. I don't know. I don't know if this is the new normal. I sure hope it's not, because I can't see how society is going to be ready to deal with any of it, or is this like a turning point in social norms? Is this a part in our history of the world where, maybe there's a regression, right? There's certain points throughout human history where, poor behavior on display, everything from, debauchery to, violence was just celebrated and on display for the world to see because that's what's popular. I don't know. I mean, look, I'm not saying that, I'm some uptight, stuffy guy that just wants to see prudence everywhere. No, I'm not that. But at the same time, I think there's limits. I don't want my kids to see public acts of indiscretion. I don't want that. What you do inside your home is what you do. I mean, you have to live with yourself and the people around you, and I guess you can make your own judgments about who you are and what you value and what you believe in. But I think everybody is going to have to take a second here and stop and recognize that, yeah, you don't have that comfortable space to hide anymore. The cameras are on. The way we conduct life, at least now, and I don't know for how much longer, is open for the world to see. So all I can do is suggest that you stop and think, is someone watching me right now? And that's all I can say there. So, all right. I think I covered that thorough enough. I got some other things I wanted to talk about, but I really only want to do the 20 minutes, so I got some interesting things to talk about tomorrow, a little bit of a development in my creative life here. I'll share some more details on that tomorrow. And that's it. I hope you're having a good one wherever you are out there. That's it. I appreciate anyone that took a little bit of time to listen into this today, and I will speak to you again tomorrow. Have a good one.